Paladins' newest champion Atlas has just now been fully revealed on the patch preview show for 2.03. He's a time-travelling and wielding champion hitting the roster, and the last of, well, pretty much anyone in the realm that isn't a horribly disfigured corruption monster in a near-apocalyptic future. He's a frontline champion with a gun arm, and well, it's perhaps going to be the most canonically powerful champion in the realm. Did I mention he can literally control time? Maybe Genos Ascended might have something to say about that, but that could come later in a 1 vs 1 custom. He will be playable on the public test server very soon, likely later today or tomorrow, but won't actually be out until early March when the patch releases, and I'll definitely be playing him on stream and also getting some gameplay onto YouTube with that. Also, be sure to let me know all of your thoughts on Atlas, the new champion, coming in the comments section below. Atlas' lore is that in the near future from that of the President Paladins cast, he is the last of the survivors and resistance against a scourge of darkness leaving the world in a post-apocalyptic hellscape. The survivors' last stand has failed, all that was left was the creatures and him. However, Atlas had been prepared for this eventuality, studying ancient texts and magics. Atlas had unlocked the power to travel back in time in the hopes of stopping the apocalyptic future from ever occurring. His mission is simple: stop the future from happening, and this corruption and eldritch-like horrors ever entering their reality. Thus, his goal is Future's End, the title of patch 2.03. Looks-wise, Atlas is a grizzled badass through and through, falling pretty much in line with a mix of Ultramarine in the 40k universe and a Norseman with that braided beard. Plus he fashions his almost more sci-fi version of Torvald's backpack from Hip Grandpa to chic time traveller. He also has some wasteland elements with quite tattered clothes and gloves. Plus they showed off a recolor with a red Atlas, no beard, making him look a bit quite younger, rewinding time on his facial hair growth, a gold Atlas, mainly black and gold, plus a season pass which is almost a steel colour. With no further ado, let's move on to the gameplay elements and the nitty gritty of how the champion works. The main fire and weapon is the Chrono cannon, a replacement for Atlas' arm he lost, I'm guessing, battling the corruption, and also something that closely resembles an ornate bolt rifle in the 40k universe. There are 4 fire modes. The first, tapping your shots, will make a big spread burst of 15 shots, almost like a shotgun. The next is 10 shots, then 5 shots, and then finally, with these shots getting more and more accurate and together, to 1 concentrated shot. The biggest shot, however, has a 1.5 second charge up time and has almost a second post fire time too, so the damage per second does drop. But all of these projectiles, if you hit them all, from the first shot to the single shot, has 900 damage. So definitely nothing to laugh at, but basically the highest DPS is the tapping and lowest is the charged and furthest firing. So there's this sort of plus and negative with the fire modes. The coolest thing is that with the fire, when he reloads, the bullets travel back in time and he rewinds them back into his weapon. That is rather epic. The alternate fire is Setback. This is a charged up blast of time energy, and it's like a projectile shot, and if you hit the enemy, it takes them back in time to where they were 4 seconds ago, whilst taking the enemy on the path they travelled, just like a VHS rewinding. The health is also taken to the lowest point in that period, so will negate any healing they had, for example, during that time, or even passive healing or whatever they had during that time. You could even rewind someone towards their spawn room at the start of the match coming off of their mount. Sounds pretty nifty. Also, we're talking about, whilst we talk about alternate fire, is the first talent card, and this is Deja Vu. This changes Setback to be a larger AoE ball instead of a single shot projectile, and it will arc almost like the Frost Bomb on Imani and then drop and explode onto enemies in a rather large area of effect. And then all of the enemies caught in that area of effect, that explosion, will be rewound in time. So in theory, you could even rewind the entire enemy team if you get one of these projectiles off. The projectile, however, is slow and has quite a big arc, but not quite as big or slow as the Imani Frost Bomb. And definitely fired in front of you can be very confirmable, so something to keep an eye on. Coming up is the first ability, Second Chance. This is almost Atlas' escape ability. This will rewind you back in time to where you were 4 seconds ago. So basically Setback, but on yourself. However, with this ability, your health is restored to the highest value during that period. So, if you do it from full health, 4 seconds ago, you will go back to full health. just depending on how much burst damage you take, or if an ally heals you during 2 lots of damage, then you could essentially go back to full health again or to wherever that ally healed you. There is also another talent card, so this is the second talent card coming up, called Unstable Fissure. This will change Second Chance to also leave a bomb where you enter the time rewind that will do 900 damage in an area of effect explosion, a rather large explosion too, almost acting like a dredged broadside that's been left behind, and this will explode after 3 seconds. So for example, using this on the point could pretty much clear it out. Though shielding still blocks the damage, it's just a normal explosive, and this is also the default talent card. The second ability is Stasis Field. This will put up a Fernando-sized wall, which nullifies and slows down attacks being shot through it. The slowdown is only visual, but looks rather epic, and the projectiles just do no damage. They're nullified, they're completely stopped. However, they have definitely put in a lot of effort into showing all of the champions' abilities and fires, and we saw a few of them, including Cassie's crossbow bolts being stopped in this. The shield will even block things like Skye's ultimate and throwing projectiles, so it will definitely be fun playing around with this and what exactly it can nullify in the realm. It's also just placed in front of you, almost like the barracks barricade, so once you place it down, it will last for 5 seconds in that exact spot too. There is also a talent card for this ability, which is rather insane, affecting Stasis Field. This makes the Stasis Field 6 times bigger and is pretty much as wide as the map is. Well, most of the maps anyway. However, the downside is that it will increase your cooldown to 21 seconds, and the dev said that there are no cards to reduce the shield's cooldown, is only going to be reduced by Chronos. However, still a hugely effective 5-second massive shield. Finally, his big bada boom, his ultimate, will charge up his weapon, the Chrono Cannon. It has 3 charges and is a crowd control ultimate that has a new effect. This is Banish. It will banish enemies you hit for 4 seconds with your projectiles. If hit, the target cannot move or use abilities or heal, but it also makes the target invulnerable. So with the 3 charges, it's shown with a UI element with 3 hourglasses on your heads-up display, and also these charges last long enough to the point where you can theoretically banish an enemy twice. During the duration, your ultimate stays up, so keeping somebody out of the fight for 8 seconds, or theoretically 3 enemies out for 4 seconds. Anyway, that is everything Atlas has to offer. Now time for some of my thoughts. On the champion design, I think they really have upped the level of champion design with every character coming and being released recently. And I think this is almost like the good guy take on the almost Warhammer looking champions, from a Khorne Berserker Khan we've got to an Ultramarine Atlas. Plus with the grizzled look and the gun arm makes him look pretty epic, and I like the theme of time travel and all of the gizmos he's got too. Onto the gameplay. So first of all, the big 2 things that stick out are first the Setback ability, being able to displace enemies so much by taking them back 4 seconds. Especially at the start of the game, you'll be practically dismounting an enemy and taking them out of the engagement, which will make the initial team fight a 4 versus 5. And even those first few seconds may lead to a first blood. Also, the talent card Deja Vu looks extremely powerful, especially in hectic team fights. The arc of the projectile and the speed make it look like it'll be difficult to land on enemies at distance. However, up close, brawling a couple of champions, you're going to have a great effect. Also, taking a look back at Imani, she has a very slow projectile in the Frost Bomb, but it's hard to keep a track of the projectiles sometimes when it's overhead and you're not expecting it, and this projectile in its visuals doesn't look that noticeable. So perhaps, and especially in casuals, it'll be catching whole groups of players off guard and lowering their health or sending them back to their own spawn rooms. The second thing is their ultimate. With 3 charges, perhaps there'll be up to 3 enemies disengaged from a fight for 4 seconds. And like I said about the displacement of a 4 versus 5, with just 1 enemy with Setback, it'll be interesting to see if this will be really strong in practice when it comes to being able to control the flow of fights and make sure that your team always has an advantage. Be sure to let me know how impactful you all think these displacements and locking enemies out will be, although the downside of this ultimate is that it makes enemies invulnerable, so you'll be unable to take them out, especially if they're on the point stopping you from capping. Plus, these are projectiles that you will need to hit, but for the second, let's just assume decent players will probably be able to get most of these off. On the shield, Stasis field, the actual shield effect is insanely strong, nullifying any projectiles coming into contact with it and rendering damage blocked kind of a larger and stronger Terminus shield. However, the big downsides are the big cooldown, and as the developers have said, with no cooldown reducing cards. So whilst being insanely strong shield in of itself, could also be an Achilles heel for the champion with very little self-shielding on tap, plus once it's on the ground it acts like the barracks shield, so you'll have to position yourself around it for defense, and you don't have any real movement ability to be able to jump either side to side of it like the barrack can pinball around it. Onto your escape ability, and I think this has the potential to be extremely powerful too. It will take you back and potentially will heal you to that full health if you only take the burst damage within the 4 seconds, which is actually rather likely with concentrated fire and how bursty damage can be. It will pretty much nullify that. Although the downsides include enemies being able to tell relatively where you're going to go back to and follow you back where you were 4 seconds ago. The big downside though is that there's no movement ability to chase enemies or to reposition without going back to where you were 4 seconds ago. So you can't reposition where you want to, and you'll always be dragged back to where you came from no matter what. And I'm guessing the better players will have to keep including a mental tab and note on where they were 4 seconds ago, and also maybe moving to be able to escape to where they were 4 seconds ago and be a little bit tactical with that. Plus, the other thing is you're going to be able to go into the enemy's flanks, then almost jump back like a blinking Eevee. However, the talent card with the bomb seems pretty weak, and I'm not sure it will be picked up, but you could do a bombing run on the point to displace champions capping, I guess. Plus, you're also locked out yourself for 4 seconds whilst you're going back in time, so that's another downside because you're going to be out of the fight for 4 seconds even though you're escaping. Finally, on the weapon, it sounds like a lot of damage, but the burst looks hard to manage on the tap burst, and I think the big thing here is the versatility, and I think it may make up for Atlas not having any movement abilities to be able to chase down enemy players. So as an enemy player tries to escape and puts their own distance between you, the Atlas can begin to fire more accurately and at range to deal with this. It also gives Atlas some great poke damage at the start of rounds and things, whilst having the power to do good DPS up in an enemy's face. So all in all, I think Atlas will probably be a relatively strong champion coming into the realm and will have very strong displacement and versatility with the damage. However, gives up most of their movement potential and chase potential with the abilities on long cooldowns and a little way to shield yourself reliably, unlike a lot of the other frontline champions. Be sure to let me know what tier you think Atlas will land in. I'm definitely excited to play with this Time Wielder and think the design is damned epic. Let me know all of your thoughts on the new champion Atlas in the comments section below, and thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe for more of my content, and I'll see you all next time. Joshino.